Bhagavatam today. We're going to speak about Srila Prabhupada, personal Bhagavatam, not different from Srimad Bhagavatam. Just as your guest here, I've come here, and after here I'm going to Vaishnava Sangha Festival at Ottawa Temple. So that'll be next week. And so just to give a little introduction, the reason I'm here is because I have the fortune of traveling with Srila Prabhupada for 2.5 years as his personal servant. During that time, I went around the world 5 times in 2.5 years. I never did come to this temple with Srila Prabhupada. I'm very happy to be here. It's my first time here. And I know Srila Prabhupada was here, which makes this temple all the more wonderful. Shakunatha told me, the floor is the same. In Vrindavan, we do this too. There's so many things we could do. Wherever Srila Prabhupada put his footsteps, you don't want to take that up. You want to keep that. Just like Vrindavan is Vrindavan because Krishna performed his pastimes there. So it's a holy place. It's a holy place because the Lord was associates, Calvary boys, Calvary girls, everyone was there in Vrindavan. So because of that, it's a sacred place. In the same way, what I've seen over the last many years, everywhere Srila Prabhupada went, there's a Hare Krishna there. And after some time, the police came up to him. Because they also, at that time, really might see all these things were very unusual and should be stopped. So the police went up to Prabhupada and he said, you can't sit in the grass. At that time, we were allowed, while we were all sitting in the grass. Prabhupada said, okay. And then he went by the fountain, he sat down and there he chanted. So that was almost 60 years ago, 58 years ago. So now we're invited there. The police, they're protecting us in the park to check. This was all good as you were Prabhupada. Everything as you were Prabhupada gave us. So anyway, he started his day translating. And at that time, and also, I would literally be in the next room. You always had to be. We had a bell. It's like the RT bell. We didn't have electric buzzers. First, we didn't have texting. No, none of this. Nothing was there. We had a bell. And I had to be close enough to hear the bell ring. So I was never very far away. Just in the next room, sometimes in a hallway, sometimes in a closet, sometimes my kitchen, we traveled, was a closet, believe it or not, the matter. Right next to his room, I had a closet. That was the kitchen. Bucket of water, a little shelf on some blocks, and I would cook there. Back in the 70s, we would hear about Bhakti Vinod. And of course, he was very detailed, and he gave his schedule, what he did. When he did his government work, when he chanted, when he read, when he translated, when he wrote, all these things were there. He was very regulated. But what I understood more and more is how regulated Srila Prabhupada was. Devotees regulated. Of course, he's not fanatic. He does something, he doesn't. Regulation is there. So from that time until 4 or 5 in the morning, he would translate. Sometimes he would chant japa on his knees. Sometimes he might even sit in where he was sitting and he would just take a little rest for 10 minutes or something, go back and translate. So then from there, I would get my first call around 5 in the morning. And that was what put his head in. Get ready for his morning walk. Which means he would go brush his teeth. What did he brush his teeth with? Anyone know?
Neem?
Datum. Twig. Yes. Ideal twig was neem. That was first class. At that time in India, you go just to a bazaar, a holy bazaar. That was the invitation to go there. You could buy a sack of 20 sticks, a little bundle of all new twigs. So I would have them. But then travel, it didn't work. Just like coming here, we would send out, just like the Buddha, you send them out. So there were certain trees that were very fibrous. Eucalyptus is also very, very good. Also antiseptic. So I was thinking of an antiseptic tree. To be with Srila Prabhupada was very wonderful. But we also had to be very, very attentive. Every moment. Actually, we all, Krishna consciousness means every moment you're attentive in your service to Krishna. And this is what the spiritual master, he would let you see what that's like. But you have to be always available. I was with him for a year, traveling around for a year with him as a brahmachari. So I was 22 years old. When I joined him, I was just 21. Now I was 22. But I'd been with him for a year. And of course, when you do your service long enough, you become accustomed to what you're doing. You should become expert. Prabhupada said, the devotee is expert. He said, a devotee should be one thing you should be expert in. You should not do everything. But one thing at least you should be very expert in doing. He called me in his room once in Donovan in 1975. Christian Balaram Mandir. So my servant's quarters was right behind his sitting room, where he would spend most of his time in the sitting room. So he rang the bell, I went in, offered a basis. He looked at me. He said, a first-class servant knows what to do without being asked. Then he said, second-class servant, you tell him what to do and he does it. Imagine, that's second class. You're not first class. If he has to tell you to do something, you're already deficient. It means you're not attentive. Because you're regulated. The Lord is regulated. You should know all the time. So as a servant, you should be ready, know what to do. Then he said, third class servant. You tell him what to do, and he doesn't do it, or he does it begrudgingly. Prabhupada's English, that was very wonderful the way Prabhupada would speak. And his words, his choice of words, always expert at everything. So he said, that's third class. The first class, you should just know what to do. Now he called me in his room to tell me that. So obviously there was something I wasn't doing. He didn't say anything. He just described, and you have to be attentive. Sometimes the Yogi will say, Prabhupada had 11 years. He had more than 11 service in 11 years. And they all tell you the same thing. No one would want to believe you, Prabhupada was a servant. But we were forced to, not by Prabhupada. We were forced to by our own actions, or our own inactions, our lack of attentiveness. Krishna consciousness means attention all the time. I've been with Prabhupada for 16 months as a brahmachari. And due to my own shortcomings and my inattentiveness, all of a sudden I was in Los Angeles, and I left Prabhupada's service, and I got married just like that. I was away from him for 8 months. During most of those 8 months, his servant was Satsuru Maharaj. But if you read his writings, he'll also tell you. He also became, Prabhupada, I need to go preach. I said that to Prabhupada after 2.5 years. I said, Prabhupada, I just didn't have it. Maya. I went into Prabhupada's room. It was in Hawaii. At this time, I already had a wife and I had a few-month-old child that I never even seen. He was born while I was with Prabhupada. So now I'm in Hawaii, my wife and child is there, perplexed, like Arjuna, what to do for service. And I just wanted to stay with my family. I went into Prabhupada's room in Hawaii, a very beautiful room. I said, Prabhupada, I said, I wanted to stay here and I wanted to travel and preach. Prabhupada looked at me. He said, my preaching's not good enough. Imagine. We have so much freedom as devotees, and even now we see in the temple's management structure so much independence. We had no independence. When you were with Prabhupada, you were at the very highest level, the summit of having to be surrendered 24 hours a day. So that was his response. And that response was there because he knew I wasn't telling the truth. Different times while I was with him, I would say things maybe or do things that So of course, Brahma knew it. And he said to them, don't try to trick your spiritual master. He didn't mind, but he said it's not a good policy. One thing we have in Krishna consciousness, you have to learn how to be straightforward, truthful. Qualities of the Brahman, truthfulness, cleanliness. With Prabhupada, these things were summit, paramount, truthful, cleanliness, attentiveness. So I had been with him for a year as a brahmachari. And I had friends in LA. Prabhupada stayed there for a couple of months, 2 months, over 2 months. So my friends, they were Grahastas. They called it the temple apartments in New York. And of course, I never went to Mongol Arti when I was with Prabhupada as a servant, because I had to be there. That's what I was never told anything in particular, but I knew I had to be there. And they kept saying, why don't you come to Mongol Arti? And I said, well, I have to be there. I have to be there. Srila Prabhupada wants something. Does he ever ask for anything at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning? I said, no. He said, well, come to Mongol Arti. So the next morning I went to Mongol Arti. So, previously, Kirtan, Bharadwaj, meeting only the big, that time, big, Agni Dev, and I'm still here from Agni Dev. So fortunate. So I went to Mongol Arti, of course, it was New Dwarka, wonderful. Meaning Dwarkadish, Dwarkadai, Jagannath Subhadra, Baladev, hundreds of devotees, because Prabhupada's there. Devotees are coming from all over. So the kirtan, it's always like every day is like John Masami when they're with Srila Prabhupada. Every day it's this ecstasy. So at the kirtan, it's about 10 minutes into the kirtan, I get a tap on my shoulder. And it's Prajumna giving class. My temple president, from Vrindavan. He taps me on the shoulder. Prabhupada wants to see you now. This was, at that time, my Jumna, Shyama Sundar. Shyama Sundar was secretary, Jumna was Sanskrit editor, and I was a servant. And we all had very specific duties. Servant, my duty was Prabhupada's person. I was Pujari. The devotee once said to Prabhupada, I always want to stay at your lotus feet. Prabhupada said, that'll be very difficult, I'm always moving. So he tapped me. Prabhupada wants to see you when he's really mad. This is what we would always say to one another. Whenever he was wanting to see someone, if he wanted Prajumna for something or Shamas. That was the last thing he wanted to hear. Prabhupada wants to see you when he's really mad. And I knew what I had done. So I ran up to Prabhupada's room, and of course he's sitting behind his desk, and I see him. And I'm offering obeisances. While I'm offering obeisances, he's already yelling. I've been ringing this bell for hours. He was always ringing it for hours. Sometimes he would say he's done something for years, he would say to you. That's because he saw things on a very different level, like heavenly planet level. 1 second was like 10 years. So he was ringing this bell for hours. And he said, where were you? I said, oh, Prabhupada, I went to Mongol Arti. You have no business going to Mongol Arti. He said, you have to be in your room 24 hours a day. What if I need something? I said, yes. So I was in Maya because I went to Mongol Arti. All of you were all in Maya. We don't go to Mongol Arti. But I was in Maya he would go around. Sometimes he would go in the kitchen and do Dwarka. Dwarka was everything first class. I see here, everything very, very nice, first class. Everything nice and clean all the time. Very good. They even saw the prashadam room. Yeah, everything. Sponge, everything has a certain spot. Yeah. That's Krishna consciousness. No clutter. No clutter outside, no clutter inside. So one time he walked into the kitchen. Now when he walks into the kitchen, he's not by himself. He has an entourage. Just like Krishna, not alone. Prabhupada was not alone. So with him is the temple president, the GBC, Sannyasis, his servant, his secretary, and Prabhupada is walking around. And he goes into the kitchen and he sees pots, big pots in the sink, and they weren't clean. Dirty pots. Radharani's kitchen. So immediately he goes. You look right at the GBC. You went right to the top. Why are these dirty pots in the kitchen? One thing I learned from the very first day I met Prabhupada, you never give an excuse. You try to give an excuse, it becomes much, much worse. Your only choice is just to surrender. Can you? Sorry, it'll never happen again, which I never said that. But there's never an excuse. That much I know. Don't make an excuse. The GBC did. Well, Prabhupada, at the time that the devotee comes in to wash the dishes at such and such time, I look down. And he said, right now everyone is doing service, there's no one here. And Prabhupada looked at his GBC, he said, you're here, you wash them. See, Prabhupada didn't see different gradations of service. These are spirit souls. That's what he knew. Men, women, brahmachari, grahasta, sannyasi, everyone was the same to Prabhupada. We were his servants. That was it. We were all just servants. It's like the Guru asked me my name this morning. So I said Srutikirti. I said Srutikirti. And he said Das. I got initiated 3 months after moving into April 22nd. Birthday, 1971. So 3 months to the day, we drove from Vrindavan, myself from Vrindavan, a few others, we went to New York City, Brooklyn, to get initiated. First initiation, every day, Prabhupada initiated 10 devotees. We did this for over a week, which at that time, that was a huge amount of devotees. Now we know that's no longer a huge amount. Initiate thousands. But every day, Prabhupada would sit in the asana and chant on the beads that we had to make down in the basement in New York, Brooklyn Temple. They gave us beads they got from the craft shop, some nylon thread. They showed us how to spin them. We strung our own japa beads. We strung our own neck beads. Nothing was awesome. Just wood. So we had to do all that. And then, of course, we went upstairs after morning class, after breakfast, and there was the fire show. And we didn't know anything. Just speaking Krishna. Some of those names, Shri Dakshai, Vishnu, Dakshai, from time. So anyway, the secretary at that time, Sharma Sundar, the secretary would call out the name. We're all sitting around the fire, which hadn't started yet. So then they called my name. And I went up and you know what Prabhupada was going to say. Always ask you the principles, how many rounds of chant, and that's 16 rounds. So, like most, I think I was very, very nervous. So my turn came. I went up and everything we were told, left side of your body, cross, the left side of your body was spiritual rest. So I did that and sat up. And of course, Brother looked at me. He said, what are the regular principles? So I very quickly, no meeting, no intoxication, no resistance, no gambling. And he looked. He didn't say you chant 16 rounds. He said, how many rounds do you chant? And I was very proud of myself. I said, I chant 20 rounds a day. And he looked at me. He was not impressed. And then he said, your name is Srutikirti. And he said, Srutikirti is the name of Krishna. It means one whose activities are world famous. And then all the devotees in the temple. And then Prabhupada looked at me and he said, and you're Srutikirti Das. And he gave me my beads. I went back. So he said, what's your name? I said, I don't know. We would have to go to Prabhupada's quarters. On the front door, June, he would write your Karni name, and then he would write your new name, your spiritual, eternal name, diacritics, he would write it down so you remember our name. So this is what it was only 16 months later. I was in New Vrindavan most of that time. I was also in the road show. Here to the road show started. Mangalananda. Very nice. And then Prabhupada came August 1972. The last time he had been in New Vrindavan was 1970. There was a lot of activity that happened at that time in New Vrindavan in the society. People were confused about philosophy. One of the things they were saying, and Prabhupada said it all came from outside of this time. All these ideas came. And some of the devotees were preaching that Prabhupada was God. Not that he said servant God. Prabhupada was saying the Guru, spiritual master, is servant God, not God. They were actually saying Prabhupada was God. So when Prabhupada heard this, he became horrified. All the devotees that were involved gave him sannyas, told him to go out and preach and don't go to the temples. So Prabhupada utilized it in a way to spread Krishna consciousness, and he empowered them. When he gives you initiation, you're empowered. You do Brahman initiation, more empowerment. He gave sannyas. He knew. He said that they weren't qualified. He said, by giving sannyas, he gave them the power to preach. So that's what he did. Told them to go out and preach. That was 1970. So right away he took care of it. Why is that so bad? The Guru is God. That means also you will be Guru. And we see now, God brothers, disciples of my God brothers are gurus, some of the disciples of my great-grand disciples are gurus now. Gopal Krishna Maharaj has disciples of Jatapata, so many. So if the idea is there, I become God, then it means we're all becoming God. So this is the greatest offense to Krishna. So Prabhupada was nipped it in the bud. Prabhupada didn't let things go on. Although something, they said Prabhupada had a way 3 times. So many times I was with Srila Prabhupada. He said something once, twice, never got past 3 times. Finished. We see that in our philosophies. Harinam, low, and 3 times. Utmost emphasis is there. So sometimes, like we can see Dancing, we know, called Swami step. It's how he taught us how to dance. But as time went by, so many things, these passionate young men, brahmacharis, dancing out louder and louder. Sometimes I was, he would never say, big offense. He said, well, if one is in ecstasy, then anything can happen. He said, but the standard process is like, morning time, pushing time, how they dance. And I saw that he would say that. He said it once, he said it twice, he said it 3 times. And then he could understand it's just something that couldn't happen. If I say do it, you don't do it, it's an offense. The Prabhupada didn't like unnecessarily have us make offenses. When I was a brahmachari, I've been with him now for almost a year. I was in class every day. They said, well, you were at Prabhupada. There were certain things automatic. I was every morning walk, 2.5 years of a lot of morning walks, almost 1,000. Classes, almost 1,000. I had to be right there every class. I never even considered not attending. These were things I could see right away. Before I was inserted, when I received Brahmin initiation, that was in Los Angeles. Exactly 1 year practically to the day from moving into the temple. This time we drove from Nuvernam all the way across the country to Los Angeles. So it took like 4 or 5 days in a van. No windows, cargo van. 4 or 5 of us driving almost constantly.
You always had to be with Prabhupada during the class.
Yes.
Never
Yes.
considered it.
So because I was with Kirtanananda, I got a lot of mercy. I got to go on all the morning walks. I got to be in the Prabhupada's garden in the afternoon when he would work it. And I became the Krishna book reader in Prabhupada's garden. The previous one went back to his service. So they handed me the book. And then we got to go into Prabhupada's room, the sitting room with Kirtanananda after class one morning. And of course, again, when you were around Prabhupada, you become very, very nervous. Pure devotee. We were just in ecstasy. We were in awe. You become speechless. Your mind, you couldn't even think. At least I couldn't. Even in the room, you were there. And Prabhupada, Kirtanananda was there. Audrey, my godbrother, and myself. So we went in, and Prabhupada was looking. He looks to Audrey, he says, what's your name? I said, Audrey. And he looked at me, what's your name? And nothing came out. And I heard Kirtanananda say, that's Srutikirti, Shri Prabhupada. So he would always say, nice voice, such a nice voice. So while we were there, the servant came in with his breakfast. Breakfast was just basically fruits like that, yogurt, milk, sweets, milk sweets were always there. So as soon as the servant walked in the door, he was holding the plate. Prabhupada looked at it. He said, why weren't you in class? The servant. What did the servant do? He gave an excuse. This is what I thought. No excuse. I learned it very first time. He said, well, Prabhupada, I was making your breakfast. Prabhupada looked at him. He said, cutting fruits? He said, anyone can do. He said, your business is to be in class every morning. Prabhupada understood the value of this association. And if you were fortunate enough to actually be traveling with him, he expected you to take advantage. the advantage, the association with your devotee. Because effects are there. It was 2 years later, 1975, now I've been here 2 years. And I traveled to Mexico City. It was probably my second trip there. We went on a morning walk. We're in what do you call it, a garden? Botanical garden. Most cities have botanical. There's probably one in beautiful gardens. So Prabhupada would walk. He generally liked to walk in gardens or on the beach. There was two favorite places. To be right at the ocean, walking in the sand, like in Los Angeles, there was Jugu, or he would walk in nice parks, good parks. So again, GPCs there, sannyasis, temple president, and I'm recording. I'm a 14th recorder. So I'm always right next to Prabhupada, recording. He speaks, recorded. So as he's walking, he stops and he sees a tree, big tree, but it's dead. And he looks, he just stops and he looks. And there's a dozen, 20 devotees all walking along with him. And he said, pointed with his hand, he said, why did the tree die? How did the tree die? One of the other things I didn't do with Prabhupada was try to answer questions. Because whatever you say, he'd make you wrong. Was one of his ways he would have his humor with his disciples. You almost could never say the right thing. Why did the tree die? Sannyasi, GBC. Prabhupada became diseased. Prabhupada, you would love it. Shake his head. So now it's like a contest. And everyone wants to answer Prabhupada because you just want to have some intercourse. You want to have an exchange. Imagine, he talks to you. You talk to him. If it happened once in your life, those devotees never forget their entire life. That association with their pure devotee, spiritual master. Never forget it. So now everyone's thinking, because Prabhupada would ask these questions, and you never knew where he was coming from. And he wasn't coming from our place. He wasn't coming from materialistic understanding. So the next person, Prabhupada, it became old. Prabhupada shook his head. So now we're already going. Birth, old age, disease, and death. So they already tried old age and disease. And I'm standing there with the microphone. And I've been with Prabhupada for 2 years. And I don't know, but I'm thinking, what does he want to hear? What's the pure devotee? How does he see things? How does a spiritual personality see things? What does he want? So then I looked at him and I said, Prabhupada, I said, the spirit soul was gone. Prabhupada smiled. Yes. It wasn't coming from me. It literally was coming from him. He taught me that. He taught me how to see things. And even though I was not on that level to understand it, I could understand it to some extent. This is what a devotee sees. This is the difference between life and death. Spirit, soul is one. Such a simple thing. But none of us could understand it. We're trying to think of all these different things. He would say things. Morning walks was very wonderful. Being with Prabhupada outside of the temple was the most exciting. To be on an airplane with Prabhupada was the most exciting. Because then he wasn't with devotees. He was surrounded by devotees, non-devotee people. So he looks at me. He said, "Do you like this music?" So immediately I got filled with anxiety because I wasn't chanting Hare Krishna. And being a cowardly person I was, I didn't say anything, even though it was nice. Some of this stuff very nice, but I didn't say anything. And he looked at me. He said, "It's very nice." And then, "Yes, Prabhupada." I told that once Harikesh was sitting by me. He said the same thing happened to me. He said, "I'm sitting in the plane with Prabhupada, the same music, here it is, going on." Prabhupada looked at me. He said, "Do you like this music?" Harikesh said, "Yes, Prabhupada." Prabhupada looked at him. He said, "It's sense gratification music." Whatever you did, you were wrong. You couldn't be right. My very first experience, said when I went to Los Angeles to get second Brahmin initiation, sacred prayer. So every day I was in the garden, every afternoon. In those days in ISKCON, once you accepted a service, that was your service. There's no question giving up that service, that became your service. He said when I first moved into the temple, they had a temple room this big. It was a Masonic temple. It was almost like a basketball court. And the first thing they did was show me the broom and the bucket. And they say, "Clean the floor, cleaning your heart." That was the first thing I learned. Clean my heart. And it was nice, cleaning the temple room. Again, where was I?
You were in the Masonic temple, like the basketball.
Yeah, the temple, that was a different thing. Anyway, it was in Los Angeles in the garden. Every afternoon, I went into the garden to hear Krishna book. His Krishna book. So I came, previous to when he left, I came in and the runner said, "Here, the Prabhupada wants you to read Krishna book to him." So there's only like 4 or 5 of us in the garden here in New York. Very beautiful garden, lots of tulsi plants and flowers. And Prabhupada, I learned, I wasn't a servant, but I could see. He would sit, sometimes he would chant in his beads, sometimes he would just sit quietly, sometimes he would talk to us, just with like your own voice in front of him. And then he wouldn't say, "Okay, read this story from Krishna." He would just look at you and go, "That meant read." That's simple. Just look at you. You had to know what to do. First thing I learned being around Brother, you need to know what to do every moment. So he's sitting there. He's always sat very straight, Brother. Always straight. Sometimes he's down, sometimes cross-legged. But he sat there and pushed his chest down. And he went, "Govinda Mani Purusham Tamaham Bhajami." He said, "We're proud to be Krishna's servants." We never hear, whoever here really has pride. We're humble. Humble, humble, humble. We're going to be humble. The Prabhupada said, our pride is that we're devotees of Krishna, servants of Krishna. He said, everyone is serving. Serving their wife, their husband, their children, serving their boss, serving their dog. He said, everyone is serving. But we're serving Krishna. So go with the mighty Purusham Tamam Bhajami. And he looked at us. Just, not even just this, 6. And he said, "What color is Krishna?" This is when I first understood Prabhupada. He asked questions, but he's asking it because somehow or other. Figured it out. Prabhupada joying with his disciples. His little young disciples didn't know anything. He enjoyed having fun with us, his servants. He said, what color is Krishna? So I did that. I think, oh, wow. Why is he asking that question? So finally, one Prabhupada gravely raised his hand. And he was smart. The Prabhupada described the Krishna book. See, he's quoting Shastra. He said it's described the Krishna book, blackish like the monsoon rain cloud. What did Prabhupada do? Shook his head no. And I knew he was going to shake his head no. I'd never even been with him. But I could see Prabhupada, he's funny. Prabhupada said, no. He said he's blue like the sky. He said the sky is blue because it's the reflection of Krishna's bodily effulgence. The blue sky is because of Krishna's bodily effulgence. So what does he do? He teaches you how to see Krishna 24 hours a day. Everywhere. Krishna's everywhere. From that same garden I would pick night jasmine, night queen, night blooming jasmine. Let's go to one more time.
8:30. 8:30.
9? 4?
8:30.
So I would pick that jasmine, which at nighttime, fragrance was amazing. The fragrance of breeze, we had that fragrance all around. So at night, before Prabhupada took rest, he took an evening massage, which was just him sitting or lying in bed. No oil, I would massage his legs, his feet, sometimes even his back. Sometimes he'd be sitting up, chanting on his japa beads, pulling down his counter beads. But when he laid down, I would give him a little sweet, the jasmine flowers, pink jasmine. And he would lie in bed, his head on the pillow, and he would put it there at his nose. So every breath, I'm massaging him, he said, this is Krishna. We all want to see Krishna. You have to learn from the very beginning. Krishna is everywhere. How to see Krishna. First thing we learn, taste the water. That's Krishna. You know, Prabhupada said, even go back there, 26 I don't know. Even the drunkard, the wino, if he appreciates that taste, his mind is very good. That's Krishna. And if one understands that, even wino, we also will become Krishna conscious, understanding, oh, this tastes very nice, this is God, this is Krishna. Everything Prabhupada did, everything in these books, everything he said, all his walking, his talking, was giving us Krishna. That's this Krishna consciousness movement. We have no other business than to try to understand whatever we can to develop our love of Krishna. Everything he did was to steer you in that direction. So, I think we're here for a few days. I believe every evening, Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening, I'll be in class. Tomorrow morning, so I'm not looking cool for class. See what happens the next day. But there's little time left. Anyone has any questions, comments? Forgive me for bringing people here into the temple room, but very nice. With Sri what can we do? Every day I offer my respects, please. Give me the ability to say something. Try to glorify you. Yes?
Hi, Krishna. Thank you for such a great class. You mentioned one point that one has to understand their duty in Krishna consciousness.
What about I hear it now. So yes, it's a very nice temple you have here, very wonderful. That's also a mercy issue of Prabhupada. It is being here, this place is Srutikirti. It's not just some mundane place. Lotus feet of pure devotee was here. You know, just like it's described even at Ganges, in Jamuna, the devotees go bathe in these places to purify the waters. All of us who go there and take bathe back to their sinful activities there. The pure devotee goes in there and purifies again all that. So the devotees feel Prabhupada. Why? Travel around the world 14 times. Wherever he put his lotus feet, that became a teacher. Go ahead.
Thank you for the great class. You mentioned one point that one has to understand their duty in Krishna consciousness. And I think when you have a guru, like you were kind of instructed directly that this is your duty. You were instructed directly by Prabhupada that this is your duty, like being there for you 24/7, if that one is your duty.
Yes.
And then you made a point that one has to understand their duty. For you going to Bangalore, it was not the case. You had to serve Prabhupada at that time. So my question is, how can one understand their duty in Krishna consciousness? How can one understand their duty in Krishna consciousness?
Duty is? That's why Guru is there. Everything. And that's why it's necessary to accept living Guru. Not some imaginary Guru you can take on your own. A devotee once asked Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, you see Lord Chaitanya never speaks about taking initiation. And Prabhupada quoted the first verse of Shastakam, humbler than a blade of grass. He said that means you take initiation. You become humble. Humility means you're going to take instructions from someone. So in order to know what to do, you have to take the guru. That's his business, is to understand. It's said, just like you have a flame, or when we approach Guru, that's what they see, there's this little spark, devotional spark. So the business of the spiritual master is to fan. So that fanning is not the same for everyone. Just like back in the old days, they had the fire, they had the bellows, the thing. Well, if you give it too much air, you blow the flame out. And if you don't give it enough air, it also goes out. The guru knows exactly how to prescribe what he needs to do. So then, of course, within our society, management is there. Prabhupada very much followed the management system that he set up, which in the temple was the temple president, the treasurer, temple commander, like that. Each place, individuals could exercise and become proficient in serving. We like that idea that everyone is an individual. One of the things we say is surrender your intelligence. No. Surrender with your intelligence, not surrender your intelligence. The devotee is thoughtful, and he's always trying to understand, what can I do? How can I best serve? And generally, the service is right in front of you. Not difficult thing to understand, just like you're here in the temple. So many things may come up. So in that way, we take service. But we understand that whatever we're doing, and whoever might be our above us manager, it's always service to the group. It's personal. I was in Australia, in Perth, Australia. That was 75. And Prabhupada was staying at this, one devotee's parents. It was a cottage. Perth is a beach town. It's right on the ocean, like Los Angeles. So they as a servant, I had one period where I could be on my own. After I gave Prabhupada massage, I would bathe, and dress, on his tea box, say Gayatri, and lunch. So at this time, lunch was being prepared. So I had literally like a half an hour at a time, where I didn't have to be there in the room. At least I thought like that. And there was a swimming pool. Being in a Western American swimming, you know, I grew up near the water, river, and ocean also. Swimming was a thing. So when Prabhupada would go, take lunch and then take rest for 15 minutes, half an hour. So I took the opportunity to go swimming in the pool. So I'm swimming in the pool, and of course, one young brahmachari comes up. Same thing. Prabhupada wants to see you. So he told me, Prabhupada had been ringing the bell, ringing the bell, ringing the bell. So this devotee knew. Srutikirti is his servant, so he didn't think about it. But finally, he went in. And he said to Prabhupada, oh, he said, you serve him. He said he's swimming in the pool. Now he said that in such a way as to, he said, call me out. When he exposed me. But Prabhupada looked at him. He said, you're my servant. He said, you're all my servants. Not just that Srutikirti is my servant. See, this is our misunderstanding. We like pigeonhole ourselves. This is all I do. Devotees ready to do anything. That's what you should be prepared to do. And we have our services, but anything that comes along is required, we should be prepared to do it. So that's what he said to him. You're my servant. Just don't pick on Srutikirti. He wasn't offended that I was swimming. He said swimming is a Vaishnava activity. So that was okay. We're all. So in the same way, we're still all servants of the Lord. This is his society. We're his family. We're all part of his family. Okay?
So my question to you is, sometimes I feel that person can with me too, being along with all my friends, we feel like, let's say I'm done with the services which my Krishna Master has given me, and I'm trying to put in.
I'm really sorry.
Let's say I'm trying to do extra service. I'm done with the services which my spiritual master has done me, and now I'm looking to let's try to please my spiritual master, and I'm trying to do something extra. Sometimes spiritual master likes it, but sometimes what happens is, because our thinking is a little bit narrow, but we think in transcendental platform, and we might displease him by trying to serve him a little extra. So you're trying to do, you're done with your duty, you're trying to serve him more, but you end up displeasing him.
We end up what?
Displeasing your spiritual master.
The spiritual master is never displeased. He might chastise you for doing something you shouldn't be doing, but actually he's always pleased. But his business, as Prabhupada said, is to chastise. Guru's business is to chastise, so you don't become complacent. You know the quality of the devotee. He's never content. At the same time, he's content. You know, we see with Prabhupada. It's not that you just have one quality is there. So many things. Like you see Prabhupada, he could become so upset. You know, the only anxiety, they say, the pure devotee has is seeing people suffering in this material world. That's the only anxiety. The only cause for lamentation is see that everyone's suffering here in this material world, and they want to come back. So that's there. But at the same time, pure devotee, he's always in ecstasy. He's always happy serving Krishna. 24 hours a day. Mayapur, said, it's just a waste of time. He said, whenever I'm going to take rest, he said, I hate it. It's just a waste of time. And then immediately after saying that, he laid down, put sheets over his eyes, just like a little child. So many things are there. We appreciate all of that. But it's all in service. He also, like I said, called me in and said, first class servant. That he called me in because I wasn't doing something I should have known what I should have done. He never did say what it was, and I still don't know why he said it. But I am convinced that it's because there was something I'd been inattentive about. Like I said, he didn't speak. He'd ring his bell, I'd come in the room, and he'd just look at the ceiling. That meant turn on the fan. Or he'd look at the doors, the French doors, and open the curtains, or close the curtains. You should just learn everything. We should become so expert in everything we can do automatically. This is what Prabhupada did. Everything he did for his spiritual master. He said he's always with me. He never said he's always with me. He said always with my spiritual master because I'm following his instructions. So that's paramount that we understand the instructions. And what do we say? Guru is one. Because the instructions don't change. If they change, then that's bogus guru. That's not guru. Because the message is the same. That's why it's one. It's always the same. And that's why the potency is there. Because we don't change anything. I'm here for a few days, so we can get deeper in all of this. But one of the things I heard many, many times was don't change anything. He was empowered, founder of Charya. He set the standard for everything we will be doing here in Kali Yuga, except for 10,000 years with his books. So our business is to know. And you get to know by reading his books, by praying, by chanting, and by seeking association of those that you see are Krishna conscious. So I think we should stop here this morning. It's 9 o'clock. Yes? Okay. My wife said stop here. Srila Prabhupada